When Elon Musk's SpaceX, short for Space Exploration Technologies, got into the rocket game, it promised reusability, lower launch costs, and easier access to space. Over the last few years, the company has taken steady steps to make good on that promise, thanks in large part to the success of its Falcon 9 rocket. Before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. SpaceX has launched another 60 Starlink satellites, making 180 delivered to orbit in under 2 weeks, but the launch early Sunday morning was more notable because it set a new key record for Falcon 9 rocket reusability. This marked the 10th flight of the first stage rocket booster used for the launch, which sets a record for reuse for SpaceX as the rocket booster with the most successful mission under its belt. The launch took place at 2:42 a.m. EDT, flying from Cape Canaveral in Florida. SpaceX also successfully returned the booster to its drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean for a 10th successful landing for the Rocket 2, making it a record setter in that regard as well, and setting up the possibility that it could fly yet again. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has said it could be possible for a Falcon 9 booster to fly 100 plus times with servicing and component replacement. Elon Musk's space company landed the booster of its Falcon 9 rocket on a floating platform in the Atlantic Ocean a few minutes after it launched the company's latest Starlink mission from Florida. The booster is the bottom portion of the rocket that houses 9 of its engines, standing about 160 feet tall on its own. The landing was a secondary goal for the mission. The company also achieved its primary goal of launching and deploying 58 Starlink satellites and 3 Planet SkySat satellites. The mission represents the company's 95th successful launch since its founding in 2002. To date, SpaceX has landed rocket boosters 58 times and has reused boosters for 40 missions. SpaceX's current fleet of rockets is partially reusable, with the company aiming to land the boosters and recover each half of the nose cone after launches. Together, the booster and nose cone make up about 70% of the total cost of a new rocket. The company prices its Falcon 9 rockets at upwards of $62 million per launch, although its leadership has said reusing rockets can bring launches down to below $30 million per launch. SpaceX is also developing a fully reusable rocket called Starship that it plans to use to replace its existing fleet. In 2013, at the All Things Digital conference in California, Musk claimed that the first stage booster makes up 75% of the overall price tag, reported at the time to be around $60 million, Space News reports. SpaceX's website lists the standard payment plan for a Falcon 9 launch at $62 million. In 2018, ahead of a Falcon 9 Block 5 launch, Musk broke down the costs again. The boost stage, he stated, costs around 60% of the total costs, with the upper stage 20%, the fairing 10%, and the final 10% associated with the launch itself. This, CNBC noted, would instead place the cost of a booster at around $37 million. The final price tag can vary though. CNBC reported in April that the United States Air Force's launches were costing $95 million due to the extra security involved. SpaceX Director of Vehicle Integration Christopher Coloris said during a briefing this year that reusing rockets can bring prices lower, adding that it costs $28 million to launch it. That's with everything. In terms of the marginal costs, the cost associated with producing just one extra rocket, Musk also recently shed some further light on the figures. In an interview with Aviation Week in May, Musk listed the marginal cost of a Falcon 9 at $15 million in the best case. He also listed the cost of refurbishing a booster at $1 million. This would fit with Musk's most recent claim that the costs of refurbishment make up less than 10% of the booster costs. Assuming Musk's most recent claim is correct, the costs of reusing a booster come out ahead after 3 flights. How many flights could SpaceX do with a single booster? Musk, in response, claimed there was perhaps no limit. I don't want to be cavalier, but there isn't an obvious limit. 100 plus flights are possible. Some parts will need to be replaced or upgraded. Cleaning all 9 Merlin Falcon 9 engine turbines is difficult. Raptor, the engine for the upcoming Starship, is way easier in this regard. despite being a far more complex engine. In April 2014, SpaceX signed a 20-year lease to use NASA's Launch Pad 39A, the very same launch pad from which every Apollo mission other than Apollo 10 and a host of space shuttle missions launched. To support the Falcon 9 launch, SpaceX had to customize the pad. It refurbished the sound-suppressing deluge system, which uses water to protect the rocket from its own acoustic energy at the moment of launch. It also replaced electronic components, power and plumbing lines, and upgraded the liquid oxygen storage system that's used to fill the rocket's tanks before launch. The metal octaweb structure that houses the Merlin engines is vital to the Falcon 9's first stage. Earlier versions of the rocket had 9 engines arranged in 3 rows. With the octaweb, 8 engines are clustered in a circle around a central one. The different engine arrangement is more than just aesthetic. The octaweb reduces the length and weight of the Falcon 9 thrust structure, simplifying the rocket's design and assembly. Streamlining the manufacturing process ultimately keeps launch costs down. The company's competitors have remained skeptical of its claims of how much money it's saving by reusing rockets. SpaceX's competition, both domestically and abroad, uses expendable rockets which break up in the ocean or atmosphere after each launch. Tory Bruno, CEO of SpaceX's largest US competitor, United Launch Alliance, said earlier this year that his company estimates that making reusing rockets economically feasible requires around 10 flights as a fleet average to achieve a consistent break-even point. That assessment remains a point of contention for Musk, who blasted ULA as a complete waste of taxpayer money because its rockets are not reusable. SpaceX's rocket reusability program is a long-term investment, and it can be hard to quantify the overall savings due to the myriad of factors at play. Musk noted in March 2017 that the company had spent over $1 billion in reusable launch technologies, which meant the firm also needs to recoup the development costs from the reuse program rather than directly passing on those savings to the consumer. But SpaceX's investment does not stop with the Falcon 9. The Starship, SpaceX's in-development rocket being produced in Texas, is designed to offer full reusability. As Musk noted, the ship's Raptor engine is much easier to reuse. If it holds up to its promise, that could make the question of whether it makes sense to fly a booster 2 or 3 times largely irrelevant. Reducing costs, of course, helps SpaceX fund some of its more ambitious goals. The company is developing the Starship, a fully reusable rocket designed to replace the Falcon 9 and send the first humans to Mars. Musk's long-term goal is to establish a city on Mars by 2050, which he estimates will cost somewhere between $100 billion and $10 trillion. With a price tag like that, saving every penny helps. Musk estimated in 2013 that the booster comprised around 3/4 of the total price tag associated with the mission, listed at around $62 million. Landing at sea means the rockets can reach higher velocities and still find their way back to Earth, he explained in 2016. As SpaceX is on track to reach 30 launches this year, the most ever and 4 more than its previous record, it's perhaps little wonder that it's investing in a bit more help. SpaceX doesn't build the Falcon 9 in Florida, it's just assembled there. Most of the rocket's parts are built elsewhere, notably on the other side of the US in the company's factory in Hawthorne, California. This means the components, including fuselages and engines, need to travel around the US by truck to various test stands before eventually ending up at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Once in Florida, the pieces are mated in SpaceX's custom-built horizontal integration facility, a large hangar within sight of Launch Pad 39A. In February 2018, Musk told Florida Today that SpaceX will use the third ship to support more frequent flights from Florida. With its successful mission, the new ship has become the first to complete its first attempted landing. But while it may prove useful for SpaceX's short-term plans, Musk has different goals in mind for the longer term. If a rocket can be refueled like an airplane, then the enormous cost of spaceflight could drop to a fraction of what it is now. And imagine the implications of that.